Hey folks, it's Marvin Cash, the host of The Articulate Fly, and we're back with another Central Virginia fishing report with Ethan Martin at TaleTellers Fly Shop. How you doing, Ethan?
I'm doing good today. How you doing?
As always, I'm just trying to stay out of trouble, and I would imagine it's probably pretty dry in your neck of the woods.
Yeah, it's getting there. I mean, for sure, the bigger rivers like the James are definitely getting towards their summertime flows. And then, our trout streams are pretty low. Same thing with small streams. So what's been odd for this time of the year is the temps have been more cool. So it's made trout fishing still an option. And which, a lot of times by this time of the year, it's dried up and heated up. So yeah, it's definitely been an interesting little season here.
Yeah, so I guess if you want to do trout while there's still a little bit of water left, it's probably dry flies and anything yellow or orange, right?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, the I fished on a local river the other day, and it was interesting because typically you would assume if you throw something yellow or something orange on the nymph range, it's going to be just as fine. But I had to go with a tiny little pheasant tail. I mean, I had like a size 18 on, which is typical of low water, but and that's what it took to finally get some trout to commit. And that wasn't a small stream; that was a little bit bigger, delayed harvest water. So, there may be instances where you have to go a little bit more natural, especially if you're fishing those pressured waters. But if you're going to a small stream in our area, then yeah, bright colors are going to be what they're after. The other thing too to keep in mind is if you go to one of those delayed harvest streams at this time of the year, you're going to catch a ton of other species of fish, not just trout. So when that happens, don't get too frustrated because that's just part of playing the game this time of year.
Yeah, although those horny heads are pretty ugly.
Yeah, they are. It's like a Star Wars animal, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, it's pretty creepy. And so, what are your friends seeing on the smallmouth water?
Smallmouth's been pretty decent. It's the temps have made it just a touch squirrely, but topwater bite's been heating up. Almost everybody that I know that's been out has been finding some success on topwater, but still, bait fish are going to be a great thing this time of the year too. So, um, I would say, if you are in the Lynchburg area and you want to give it a go, come to downtown Lynchburg and you can wade fish all around. The flows are just fine for it. And there's been a ton of fish. So, and this year seems to be a lot of fish in that like 15 to 13 inch age category. So, that's pretty cool just being able to see that, that age class of fish that's made it and, progressively getting bigger because all those fish one day are going to be our 20-inch fish, if they can make it that far. So, yeah, it's encouraging.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, it's one of those interesting things. I was talking to someone else this week, and, after several consecutive years of just scouring flows during spawn, I mean, I would say probably what out of the last 5 years, we've probably had three or four relatively decent spawns for smallmouth.
Yep.
Yeah.
And, that the smallmouth numbers issue on the James has been something that everybody is complaining about, or was complaining about, and was pointing fingers at everything possible. It's anglers, it's this type of angler, it's, lack of food, it's flatheads, it's, fill in blank here. But I think, kind of what we're seeing is ultimately it had to have just been the spawns, and so I'm sure that there are other factors that, could decrease numbers like catfish or whatever it may be. But I think ultimately, at the end of the day, us getting those good years of spawns has played a huge factor in that. So that's something encouraging. But that's just also a part of life. You can't really control when it's going to monsoon rain for 3 years in a row. So and then not for a couple more.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've got a question from our old reliable Brenner.
Oh
Smallmouth,
yeah.
yeah, smallmouth question. And he wanted, we're getting ready to head into low water and hot days. And so he wanted to get your thoughts on, how you target smallmouth, in the mornings and the evenings.
Yeah, well, I'd start first with saying mornings and evenings are the time to go. If you've only got a little bit of time, because you definitely will see increased activity around those time frames. So say most people tend to go towards the evening if they're wade fishing, just because they want to get up later. But if you want to go early, I mean, you've got to be out early. And so, if that's sunrise or a touch before, but a lot of people don't want to do that in summer because, I mean, sunrise is, you're talking like 6 o'clock, you're out there. But if I'm doing that, then for sure I'm going to be fishing areas where fish are going to be feeding aggressively. So a lot of times what that means I'm looking for is like riffled areas or areas that have a little bit more oxygenated water and increased food supply, that then are going to dump into some sort of deeper water area, which would be safety. Those fish will definitely sit there and congregate in that style of water because they can go up really quickly, munch on some food, and then as soon as that sun gets out and they want to go hide in the shade or in deeper water, they can quickly go and do that. So for me, a lot of it this time of the year is going to focus on where I'm fishing, not necessarily the fly, but the fly will play an impact. So if you go out and you start throwing top water and you're not seeing any action, then switch to something that sinks, medium range, a woolly bugger or something basic. If nothing's eating that, then go to something that's going to go even deeper. You don't get anything on that, then you fished that whole water column, so move somewhere else, basically. That's typically my strategy, year round, but where you're fishing this time of the year will play a pretty big part in whether or not you find success or not.
Yeah, and that being said, right, even with low water, and hot days, you can still be productive in the middle of the day. You just kind of have to understand that, that heat. I mean, it's unpleasant, right? Because the fish are in the shade and we're in the sun. But
Yep.
but that hard shade line on the shorelines, particularly when the bugs start really kicking, is basically like that'll put fish on structure, right?
Yep.
And
For sure.
yeah, and so that shade is a place to go. And again, it's unpleasant because you're in the sun and they're in the shade, but it's going to push them to the banks, and you want to fish poppers and things like that.
You get a nice tan line that time of year too.
Yeah, well, I've gotten a new appreciation for like 50 SPF hoodies.
Yeah, I think if anybody saw me out on the water, they probably wouldn't recognize me because that's I keep on like the long quick dry pants and all of the SPF hoodies and all that jazz. So I don't like getting sunburned, or I don't really want to have some sort of long-term effect from my fishing. So
You don't want to be like the old timers these days that are telling you that they've had like 40 skin cancers taken off their head and their hands.
yeah. We see people like that in the shop, particularly like farmers and that sort of stuff that frequently will come in that they're like, yeah, I never wore sunscreen once in my life. And you're like, that's why your face looks like the Grand Canyon. I mean, that's, I don't like being rude in that sense, but we have new understandings. So definitely take care of yourselves. We want to be fishing as long as we can. So less time in a hospital if we can make that happen. So
yeah, it's funny you say that. My appreciation for hoodies really came last summer fishing at high altitude in Colorado. Like after being out there for a few days, I completely understood why people were, basically huddling up like Kenny on South Park.
yeah.
So, well, folks, look, we love questions on the articulate fly. You can email them to us. You can DM them, whatever's easiest for you. And if we use your question, I'll send you some articulate fly swag, and we're going to enter a drawing for something cool from the shop at the end of the season. And Ethan, before I let you go, you want to let folks know any special events, shop hours, location, and all that kind of good stuff?
Yeah. So you can find us in downtown Lynchburg, Virginia. We're on Main Street, and we're open. We're going to continue on with our Tuesday through Saturday time frame for right now. And if you can't make it to the store, then of course we have everything that you can find online. So we've got a couple of classes and stuff that are going to be coming up here soon. So some fun, exciting stuff. And yeah, looking forward to meeting you guys and seeing anybody.
Well, there you go. Well, listen, folks, you owe it to yourself to get out there and catch a few. Tight lines, everybody. Tight lines, Ethan.
Tight lines.